let's learn how to use Nix to build and distribute a Java application. So if you just want to see something happen, go ahead and take sample app Java and throw it in your environment system packages on your NixOS system config, and then take this whole blob here of package overrides if you don't have any yet, or just add sample app Java as a package override. And this block of code that you can just paste in should be all you need to run sudo nixos rebuild switch and let it run. And once the build completes, you can run sample app Java and you'll see that it works. So if you clone this repo down from GitHub and you want to get the lay of the land, there's two folders. The first one is sample app Java, and this shows you how to build the application. This is building the actual source code. So you'll see a source folder with hello-world.java in it, all of that good stuff. And then if you cd ... into NixOS, you can run nix build there as well. And this is simulating the remote source build. So there is no source code present in the NixOS folder, and you can run result bin sample app Java in either one of these, and both should work the same. So what are we talking about today? We're going to start by building the simplest possible Java application that we can. We're going to run that in NixOS right away using local only hard-coded paths. Then we will do some testing with default.nix, which we'll see is an easy way to do hardcore Nix development, figure out all the remote stuff, which will lead us to be able to build and install from GitHub source code, which will be reproducible and it won't depend on anything you have cloned locally. But you may ask, why bother with this? Well, this is PageKey, where we take back tech. So tech is good, you know this, it makes our life easier. Big companies build tech, smartphones, things like that, but we don't understand tech, so we depend on those big companies to provide that tech to us and to service it and all that stuff. So it might be bad, you know? They have interests of making money, we have interests of being people, living our lives. Those might not always align. So the solution, learn about tech, build things ourselves, project-based learning, become independent again, and then we can stand on our own 2 feet without big tech propping us up. We can do our own thing independently. Remember back in the old days when everyone would work on their cars, they'd be tinkering in their basement. Now cars are too complicated. Same thing with computers. Why are they so complicated? Let's bring that back and take back tech so we can work on our own stuff. Check this guy out. He's working on his hot rod. That could be you working on your email server. His buddies over here, maybe they're coding a game together. Maybe he's running his own stock market analyzer app. Maybe he's writing his own personal fitness app. Why can't we do that? It should be that easy. Let's take back tech. So to create this Java application, it's pretty straightforward. We need a source file, hello.java, very simple, get ignored to ignore the built artifacts, and a default.nix. So we'll dive into each of these now. Not much to say for main.java. It is your standard hello world in Java. Literally nothing to say here. Default.nix for Java is a little complicated. It's actually so huge that I split it into pieces. If you saw the previous videos, source and subdir will look familiar, but we have a runnable jar that we build first. We'll see that, and then we'll see how we turn it into an application that we can just run with a / command. So this default.nix to build the runnable jar, regular old derivation, we have all kinds of metadata here and here. Our build inputs, just the JDK, which gives us the javac command. So in the build phase, we run javac on hello.java, output it in the current directory. That creates a class file. We echo main class hello world into a manifest, and that lets us build a jar using that manifest and the class file, and it gives us sample app java.jar based on the class file, obviously. Then in the install phase, we just take that jar and put it in the bin folder. So the second piece here is packaging up that jar so it's really easy to run. So our inputs for the second piece are propagated build inputs, means that they are needed at runtime as well. We need JDK again, and we need the runnable jar from the previous slide. We set our source, and then in the install phase, we create a bin folder, and we're going to create a shell script in that bin folder with the name. This ties back to sample app Java. So our executable is called sample app Java. It contains a shell script that execs jdk/bin/java. So we're running java-jar, path to the runnable jar, sample app java/jar, and that's it. So this is our previous slide's output, and then we go into bin, sample app Java, where we put that jar file, and we run it. Then we just make that executable, and then we're done building. Why is all this necessary? Well, this right here and this right here, these are both Nix store paths. So this is big because this is our previous slide stored in the Nix store. So as you can see, we don't need too much to get started here. We just have this very simple hello world.java file. We have a get ignored to ignore the result that gets created. And we have this default.nix, which I think we already talked about. So if you just paste that in wholesale, then you can run nix build. You'll see in this result folder, we have this bin file that is a shell script invoking our OpenJDK and calling our jar file I had to turn on word wrap. So we have the JDK being invoked, Java, executable, we pass -jar, and we pass our built jar file and then the rest of the inputs. So this is just a little shell script to make it easy so you don't have to remember how to run this thing. And you just run result bin sample app Java and you're done. So now let's try running this on NixOS local only. Update your configuration.nix for your whole system, add sample app Java to your list of installed packages, and then we have to tell Nix what sample app Java is. So we add a package override. We set sample app Java to, we're gonna have our default Nix file, and it's gonna be a hard-coded path. So you'll have to update this home Steve piece to wherever you clone the repo in the description to. We're gonna use that default Nix to call the package. So we call default.nix and we pass in a few arguments. We have the source and we pass the full path to the source to, and then the subdir as well we're gonna pass in. Run NixOS rebuild switch and you'll see this becomes available as we'll look in the demo. Okay, close out the source code and go open your configuration Nix for your whole Linux system. And we're gonna delete this blob from the beginning, the demo in the beginning, and we're gonna take and paste something a little bit simpler. Our package overrides will instead be this default.nix, and we're just passing a full path to sample app Java here. Then we're calling it, passing in the source directory. Again, we are hard coding it, the subdir hard coded as well. If you run sudo NixOS rebuild switch, remember sample app Java is still up here in our environment system packages, so let that run. Once that's complete, you can just confirm that you can run sample app Java still, and we know it worked. Okay, default.nix is a great way to test without having to rebuild your whole NixOS system. You can kind of simulate it in default.nix. See the NixOS folder on this repo on GitHub. It's kind of our test bed for NixOS rebuild switch. And if you get it working in default.nix, it'll probably work on your NixOS system. And now we can take a look into this NixOS folder, which was very helpful as a test bed. So you don't have to rebuild your whole system to test out whether some of these functions in Nixlang work. So this one from GitHub has a few options for you. You can download from GitHub if you want, or you can uncomment and use the local path to get your default.nix. That's the first piece. The second piece is getting the source code. So again, you can download using fetch from GitHub to get a copy of the source code, or if you want to uncomment, it's the same deal if you want to use a local path. You can explore that on your own, but either way, if you run nix build, yes, it's exactly the same as running it in your NixOS system config. When it's complete, you can run result bin sample app Java, and there you go. So now that we got it working, building from GitHub in our little test bed, let's try it on NixOS. You can paste snippets directly over from default.nix into your configuration.nix, then run the magic command NixOS rebuild switch, and you should have sample app Java available globally on your system path. So that's all I had for this video. You saw that we created a Java application, we ran it in NixOS doing a local build, then we did some testing with default.nix, and finally we were able to build and install from the GitHub source code. No hard-coded paths, reproducible by anyone without cloning anything. If you liked this type of thing, subscribe to Take Back Tech. We're always rebuilding things from scratch. We're doing self-hosting and many more topics like this interesting Nix topic. Thanks for watching.